Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Monday, the 17th of June. This month really is going quickly. Yesterday, I celebrated my very first confirmation at the cathedral, at St. Matthew's Cathedral, with a lovely young lady, Alexis, and I'm so excited about that. I think it's going to take me a little while to process that because it's my confirmation was a very important event in my life, a very important sacrament in my life. And now being welcomed and able to celebrate confirmation from the other side is pretty overwhelming. So I'll talk about that maybe next week or something when I've had a chance to sort of process it all in my head. Today I'd like to talk about the importance of having those hard conversations, of inviting grace into difficult relationships. There have been times in my life when I have had to be face to face with things I don't want to do. As a bishop, apparently that's something I have to do on a regular basis, but I have been given the grace of God to handle them a lot better than I thought I would be. There have been lots of hard conversations, a lot of sad conversations, lots of exciting but hold your horses kind of conversations um, that are difficult to have simply because I can't say to someone, "Here you go, yes, let's do this now." Or, "Here you go, let's do this ever." Sometimes the answer is indeed no, or wait, or we don't know. And, when you're asking a question with an outcome that you want, usually you want the answer to be yes, and that's not always the case. So I'm discovering that being a bishop can have its difficult moments as well as its easy, fun, amazing ones, like with Cody there, who I think I'm going to get to see next Saturday in Easterville, I'm hoping. He's the one who drew that beautiful likeness of the bishop here when I was still a bishop-elect at Synod. But I think that I'm becoming aware that the grace of the Holy Spirit guides me in what I do, and I hope guides people with whom I work as well. But I was reminded over the last couple of weeks, there have been some tough conversations going out to parishes and saying, "Listen, I don't know what God is calling you to, and I don't know what things look like. Maybe we have to close. Maybe we have to create new parish groupings." Those are all difficult conversations to have because they mean change. And I was reminded in some of those conversations about other interactions I've had, which have been really hard. A long time ago, I had a confrontation with a parishioner, and I think it was probably, in retrospect, a long time in coming. Both of us probably had put it off and put it off. And when it happened, it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me about the way that I communicate or lack in communicating, that what I thought I had been communicating hadn't been received that way, and I didn't realize that. And the other person was feeling angry about that. And I learned that it's hard to sit at a table when someone tells you all of the things they think of you, the things that you think, well, we're Christians, we shouldn't say things like that. And it's hard to admit that 10 or 12 years ago, when I was a younger, more upstart priest than I am now as a wise old bishop. Old on my way, wise hopefully on my way, but not there yet. But recognizing that I'm sitting here at a table in an office that wasn't my own, in a church from a long way from here, listening to someone telling me their truth of how they saw me, and how pretty awful I was, and that I wasn't called to be a priest, and a whole lot of other things. That was their truth. That this person really believed that, and I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to take it away. I'm not going to say they were wrong. I cannot I cannot speak for what was truly in their heart. That's how they felt in that moment, and I sat there and I took it, and it was everything I could do to not it was everything I could do to bite my tongue, to not argue, to not come back with justifications, to not say, you know, this is what you're talking about didn't happen that way. That's not what I meant when I said that, or that's not actually what I did. I don't know who you're remembering, but it wasn't me. But to recognize in that moment, to have the grace of God alone, because it wasn't me, to tell me and keep my mouth shut, to just listen. because this person was very hurt and very angry and very scared and needed to spew all of this out of her and let it sit on the table or in the room or on all over me, because that was her truth. And I spent a lot of time thinking about, if that was her truth, why did it sound so much like untruth? Until I began to realize that we live in a place in our heads that we never have the complete truth. If I say the word purple to you and you have your eyes closed and haven't seen this video, if you're listening in the car or something, then you might imagine a dark, dark, dark plum purple. And I say the word purple, I'm thinking about the purple I'm wearing as I sit recording this video. We hear things and we interpret things differently than other people. So when someone experiences or listens to a statement or a conversation or a sermon or something else, they're going to hear something, they're going to process something, and that is truth for them. That is how they have understood that, how they've processed it. And nobody else can say to them, you're lying to yourself. I mean, we could, but we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't say to them, you're lying to yourself. That is not what was said. That was not what was intended. We can try that. We could have a conversation where the person that they're talking about, the preacher or the person they had the conversation with, says, okay, that's what you heard. That's what you processed. This is what I intended. So, but there's a gap between the two. It doesn't mean that one is lying and one is telling the truth. It just means that two people heard or held a different truth. And really, at the end of the day, it's not about who is right and who is wrong. It's about what we do with that. It was what we do with the fact that two people held a different truth. In this case, in this situation, I walked away feeling hurt and pretty beaten up spiritually, and feeling fairly physically beaten up as well, even though not a hand was laid on me, because all of the things this person were saying, she really believed that this is how I treated her, that this is how I made her feel. And I had no intention and no desire and no inkling that that's how I made her feel. I would never intentionally make anyone feel that way, ever. And I don't believe I ever had a conversation with her again beyond, hello, how are you, at a gathering or things where we had to be together. And that, in a way, breaks my heart, because I was never able to reach out to her and offer grace. I was never able to say, can we be reconciled? And sometimes that can't happen. Sometimes we need to recognize that that reconciliation, that grace, may never be accepted, even if it's offered. And again, that person, maybe I did indeed do all those things that she accused me of doing. I don't know that I would ever be convinced that I did. But I do understand that she felt that way for whatever reason, and it's not mine to judge that. It's simply mine to love her and forgive her for the things that she said to me that I interpreted as hurtful and harmful, and to recognize that we all walk a journey, we all walk a path where not everyone has offered grace. Not everyone is working with the assumption that we need to walk in reconciliation and gentleness. But we all do need, as Christians, and people, I think, even as not Christians, as just as human beings, treating each other the way we wish we would be treated. We need to learn to walk in grace. And part of that means we don't become the person who feels the need to shake their finger and downgrade another person. But it also means that if we're the person being downgraded, if we're the person who's having that finger shaken at us, we need to find a place where we can recognize that this isn't about us. This is about the person who is obviously hurting so very much. And we need to offer them grace. And we need to offer them that olive branch to say, if and when you're ever ready, I would like to walk the path of reconciliation with you. I was not given the opportunity to get there. Now, maybe if I lived in that place longer and I'd matured a little bit more, I might have had opportunity and the desire to say, can we have another conversation? Can we have a do-over? Can we have a moment where we take a look at one another and say, Are we still there? Not to say you were wrong or I was right, but to say, are we still in that place, or have we now matured? Have we walked far enough down the path that we can maybe recognize that we walked the path together? I don't know that that would ever have happened. My hunch is that probably not, just the places we were in our lives. I would hope, though, that if I were to run into her somehow, on the streets, it's highly unlikely, but that we would be able to at least be cordial to one another and maybe even be able to see in each other another child of God. I am not going to pretend to you that you're never going to have relationships or confrontations with people who speak to you about the way you are to them and you don't recognize yourself at all. That people have interpreted, or who people have made judgments about you that hurt you. That happens all the time. We can't change them. The only person we can change is ourselves. We can say to ourselves, okay, is there any truth in what they're speaking? And if there is, even if it's just a kernel, we can do something about that. But if in the case that I was experiencing where I really saw no truth, I saw no recognition of myself in the accusations and in the arguments and in the frustration and anger there, you can look at yourself and say, okay, I don't see that in myself. So I'm not going to change something. I'm not going to try to change something that really isn't there. But I'm going to pray for that person. I'm going to, even if it's not appropriate to reach out to them, I'm going to hold them gently in my heart. And I am going to ask grace for them. I'm going to pray. If I'm Christian or if I'm a believer, I'm going to pray to God that grace may fill them and that grace may fill me as well. If you're not Christian, you don't need to ask the Holy One or the Divine, but simply wish that grace would be surrounding them, that whatever it is in their hearts that is making them bitter or angry or frustrated, or hurt or sad, that they may be healed. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe that Jesus Christ will work in people's lives if they will allow him to do so. And so I do still pray for that person. And I pray for all the people since then, because I'm human. There have probably been lots of other people that I've completely ticked off over the years. But in the last 10 years or however long ago it was, I have to recognize that if I have done something to someone I should not have done, or if I have not done something for someone that I should have done, all I can do now is ask forgiveness and ask that I be filled with grace as well. And so as you go about your day, or you go about your week, I pray that you will listen for those opportunities, be alert for those opportunities when you can offer grace, when you might be the one who offers forgiveness, when you might be the one who says, will you please forgive me? And I pray that if there are broken relationships in your life, I pray that you will find ways to find and work toward reconciliation. Because we all need to reconcile ourselves, to each other, to the world, so that together we may walk a peaceful and grace-filled journey. God bless you. I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.